right. All right. Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. We are here doing our letter of the day. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be doing the letter M today. Yeah, Morgan's favorite letter. Go figure. I also was like, we should just make it like an extended class today because there's so much to talk about the letter M. It's kind of an amazing letter and there's so much to do with it. But I think I can only record for an hour on this thing, so.
So we're going to try to hop to it a little bit faster today.
Sorry.
I do just want to put out a little amplification. Our friends in Providence are raising money to make face shields, and there are a lot of people doing this. But in our stories, you'll see you can join in, you can help, you can donate, but check out what they're up to in Providence in our stories.
How can they help?
You can help sew, you can help if you have like a 3D
Printer?
They're not 3D printing, they're like CNC cutting plastic face shields.
Oh.
So
They need help like assembling them and stuff?
I think that they're like doing it all there, and you can, if you have those machines, download the pattern and make them yourselves and then donate them. But you can also just give money so they can make more. And they're just doing it for cost. It's really incredible. So check out in our stories today. And then there's our friend Rachel Popak is doing it here in town, I saw. So check out who is in your local community doing great stuff, and swipe up in our stories.
Yeah. Masks are super important. Gotta protect your face. Gotta protect those vulnerable people. So we are going to be doing things that have nothing to do with face masks. We're going to be lettering. And if this is your first time joining us, thank you. Welcome. We are so psyched you're here. This has been a really nice way for us to maintain our sanity while we are stuck at home with our 3 little kids. This is just one of them.
This is Rolly.
Hey, Bowley.
He's working on nap time.
Oh, yeah. He's always working on nap time. Jealous. But we've been busy this morning running around doing projects, trying to figure out how to stay afloat. We have a couple little treats here for you guys. We have some free things. We have free downloads of our line guides for your lettering pleasure. That's on our website. We have
Link in bio.
Link in the bio. All these are links in bios. We have our pen kit. That has some of our favorite pens in it, and it comes with a handy dandy hand lettering booklet that has our booklet in our class in a book. If you don't want the physical copy, you can just download the booklet, and that's also available on our website. We love you too. We also have some free downloads. We will always figure it out. That is just a message that I made for Morgan recently, this past September, when we were going through, she was pregnant with twins. It was rough. We were trying to figure things out, and I made it into a puzzle I thought was really clever. But now it's just a print that you can download for free off our website and make it your phone wallpaper, or just print it out and put it on your wall. We are working on a project right now that involves this print that we are, can I tell them about it?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so excited. I can tell you about it. This is kind of new, so we haven't really fleshed it out totally 100%, so it's not on our website yet, but it will be soon. We are going to be printing this message as a postcard. Yes, Gio? Oh, the robot's smoky, but the windows are foggy. Our 3-year-old Gio. What did we make today, Gio? We made a fort, and it is so awesome. So he's very excited. He'll show his face here again, I'm sure. So we are doing a project. We were going to print this message as a postcard, and for a donation of $1 or whatever you can swing, what we'll do is we will address that postcard.
Covers the cost.
Yeah, it's basically $1 is basically what covers our costs for production and postage and all that. But you can make a donation, and then send us the name that you would like it shipped to, and we will fill out the postcard for you. We'll mail it for you and do the whole to from song and dance. If you have more to give than $1, that's amazing. It would be a tremendous way for you to be able to give back to the old Ladyfingers who are hustling.
And maybe help someone who needs to send a message and doesn't have.
Exactly. If you are able to make a donation more than $1, that will also go to cover other people who are unable to make a donation of $1, so that they can mail out a postcard as well. So it's sort of a pay it forward postcard project. So stay tuned for more details about that. We should be launching that pretty soon. Morgan just has to go to the shop and print some.
Just print the postcard.
Just he just has to print them. No big deal. Easy peasy.
Let's get to the letter M.
All right, let's do some letter M's. I'm just gonna try to organize my workspace here. I'm gonna be drawing on my iPad. And my iPad is going to be connected to my iMac, and my iMac is going to be connected to Photoshop. And because I have an iPad Pro and Catalina on the iMac, I'm able to connect my iPad to my computer and use Photoshop on here. So it's kind of cool. If you have questions about how that all works, you can DM me. It's just a little, you sort of make it your display here on the top of the computer. So we have been doing this every day, and it's been super fun. And I have been really surprised by how much I can talk about a letter form that I would think would be like really simple, like the letter L. But yeah, we did a whole class on the letter L yesterday. It was awesome. But today we're going to be doing the letter M, which is a much more dynamic letter form. It has way more parts to it, which make it so interesting and dynamic, and beautiful and strong. And I'm really excited to go over that with you today. So let me switch back. I was drawing. We do this custom stationery, and I've been drawing them at home and saving and getting the plates made, so I had to switch my brush because I was doing a different brush last night. So now I have the brush that I need. This here, do you have a preference between Photoshop or Illustrator for this? Marms and Meeks asks. I use Photoshop because I'm going to be drawing with the brush tool, and Photoshop CC has a really great variety of free brushes you can download from somebody who makes them. It's called Kyle's Brushes, I think is what it's called. Kyle's Letterers, Kyle's Brushes. So I would recommend, if you have Adobe CC, to download all those extra brushes. I have the lettering kit, which basically just sort of acts like a, it's almost like I'm drawing with a Micron, but it's an Apple Pencil. But it looks basically the same.
Use pen and paper.
Also, you can use pen and paper. You can use our handy dandy line guide that you can print at home. You can just use unlined paper if you want. This is meant to be something easy and relatively affordable for those of you who are maybe just getting started or don't have all these fancy tools at home, but something you can definitely do without having all these fancy tools. You could just use a pencil and a paper if you want to. No rules here. So Morgan is going to help me out by focusing on the screen here.
Hey everybody.
Wow, what a busy morning. Man, we have been up to lots of things. And
Our kids didn't really sleep last night. It might be part of it.
Yeah. Hey, do you still have that Diet Coke? Or did
I
you
drank
drink
that.
Oh.
Yeah. We indulged a little bit in Diet Coke. Quarantine. We got 12 Diet Cokes. It feels like extreme luxury to drink a Diet Coke. We don't usually do that, so.
So this is just an example of how we talked about the letter L yesterday, but we are going to start brand new and do the letter M. And what we are going to start with here, we are going to cover the sans serif alphabet, and the script alphabet. And we're going to draw capital letters and lowercase letters for the letter M. So what we're going to do is we're going to start. Oh, bye.
Sorry, everyone.
Oh, bye-bye.
So sorry. Bad angle. Right
alright.
off the edge.
Our fake plant is not really doing its job over here.
Okay.
Come on,
Let's
babe.
try.
Come on, Planty.
Take 2. Do you think Frankie's hungry or sleepy?
Well, she just got up from a nap and then I just fed her, so she might need a diaper.
Okay.
I would try that first. Okay, so
Right.
what we're gonna do here, people, we are gonna draw a mono weight sans serif. And what that means, mono weight is one weight, so it means that the stroke is just going to have one thickness to it throughout the whole letter form. So because we're going to be starting with a capital letter M, we're going to start from the cap line and go down to the baseline here. And we're going to try to draw a pretty even little rectangle there and fill it in. So we start from the cap line here to the baseline there. And then what we're going to try is we're going to really try to maintain that thickness of that M here. So what we're going to do is, we're basically going to redraw this same shape here, but we're going to kind of tilt it. But what we're going to try to do here is start from this corner. We're going to come down, but we're not going to come down all the way, because basically what we're doing is we're tracing this shape, and because this sort of, if you want to think of it as like a plank, this plank of wood is going to be leaning against that other plank of wood, right? And so you have, if you're thinking of it as really constructing this in a sort of three-dimensional way, you want to make sure that you stop your top line. Oh my goodness. You want to make sure you stop that top line on the top there, because you really want to give yourself that room for that bottom part to hit that baseline. So what we're going to do is we're going to recreate this mono weight stroke again, and we're going to kind of try to really mirror this shape as much as possible. That's really wide. I have the luxury of being able to just like edit undo. But you can use an eraser, or you can use like a white jelly roll pen. And I really just want to kind of show you guys the construction of all this, and then we're going to kind of go back and fine tune it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to draw, sorry folks. We're going to draw this out, because this line is going to act as the, we're sort of starting at that edge. And this looks like it's a little bit narrower here than it is here. And I think that might be because of the angle here. So that may be, something that you want to practice a few more times. M, like I said before, is a really dynamic letter form, and it's really a joy to draw, but when you're trying to draw it very geometrically and very like sort of almost, you really want these to be even and perfect, it's a little harder to draw. It's one of my favorite letters to draw in the script style, because it's just so loose and fun. Hi Gio, how's it going? Are you here for my class? Are you gonna draw with me? Yeah? Okay, cool. So let's draw this one more time. And with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, hello. I'm going to flatten out this middle line right there. You see how there's that angle there? I'm going to flatten that out, because I want that to be just a little bit more almost, symmetrical there. So that's just a little bit more symmetrical, but again, I feel like my problem is that my angle here is a little bit wider than my angle here. So I would practice that a little bit more if you want to really get a very... Are you loving on Frankie, Gio? Oh, you're so sweet. So, we have these lined papers available for download. What I would try to do, if you have time and you're interested in, go ahead, fill this whole line with this mono weight sans serif, capital M, and see what that looks like. Try drawing it with a very, thick stroke. See what that looks like. Let's try doing one of those here. Try experimenting with this middle section, not going all the way to the bottom. Try just going like right here. Let's even that out there. See how that looks. I traditionally use this style, not this like thick chunky style, but more of this like raised middle section when I'm doing like a condensed capital M, because as you can tell, you use a lot more space when you're coming all the way up and down and then all the way up and down again. It's a very large amount of space you're using, but when you're just going you're able to save space and the inner part of that letter form. So so experiment with that monoweight sans serif M with some different thicknesses, with this raised middle point. Really fill that whole line, after class today with some free time that you may have, and experiment the different ways that you can do that, because that's a lot of cool things you can do there. So with a lowercase m, we're going to start with our stem. We're going to actually sneak back over here so you guys can see these lines, because we're going to use a different line here. We're going to stay on the base line, but we're going to go up to the mean line here. And the mean line, also referred to as the x height, is the line that you want to make all of your lowercase letters. So lowercase a, or o, or e, they're all going up to that line. So as you can imagine, the lowercase m is also going to go up to that line. So we're going to start our letter form by drawing the spine going up to that mean line. It's actually not very mean at all. It's actually quite nice. And then what we're going to do, actually I'm not going to fill that in quite yet. I'm just going to draw it, and so that you can see the move I'm going to make next, because it's easier to see if I'm not filling it in. I'm going to start my next stroke kind of somewhere down here below in the center of that line. And I'm going to come around, give myself a nice little shoulder. Oh my gosh, do you have tape? Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to start again somewhere lower, and I'm going to echo that same shape. And so I have now this letter N, as you can see. But what I'm going to do again is I'm going to start again where I started over here, in that same sort of like, maybe this high up from the ground. I'm going to do that again over here. And I'm going to try to replicate that shape again. And the monoweight, again, it's tricky because you're trying to make it very geometric. You're trying to make it a little almost perfect, which is not an easy thing to do by hand. But when you do some monoweight sans serif letter forms, it looks really cool. So this is our lowercase m. We're going to fill that in now. And as you can see, we're really trying to keep that negative space pretty consistent, because the negative space really helps to define the shape of this letter almost as much as the positive space.
Oh, thanks, Gio. You fill my bucket. That's so sweet.
Our 3-year-old is so sweet with the babies.
Play what?
Choo-choo train. You want to play choo-choo trains when I'm done with my class, okay, hon? So, as you'll see with this, I have a pretty,
Excuse me, Bob.
Yes, Gio?
All the eggs have pens.
Did you open all of your Easter eggs?
Yeah.
You're supposed to get one at a time, first of all.
But those pens now in the egg.
I guess one way of getting your kid to not like a certain kind of candy is to give them a lot of it. Because he used to love Pez, but now he doesn't like it. Because you'd rather have chocolate, right? Eating those Easter eggs? Yeah. So class. What do you want to tell the class?
Go to the basement.
Everybody go to the basement, and then
see if you can find black and paint it all around.
You're gonna get black things and paint it all around?
Like this.
Like that? You're gonna paint the wall black? Okay, well we're gonna be on the lookout. Maybe want to lock the basement door tonight. Lock the paints away. Might be in for a surprise.
Can I draw?
You can draw right over here, sweetie.
Let's get you a pen and some paper.
But I want to draw on the iPad.
I know you do, but look at this awesome pen we have for you. That one's just for you. Here's your line paper
Hello.
right there.
Hello, pencil.
Hello, pen. How are you? Are you gonna do some lettering?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not on the iPad, please. On this paper. There we go. Okay. So, back to our letter M, lowercase m. Oh, and there goes
Or
my
micron.
There goes my micron. So you'll notice that I have a little bit of an angle here.
It is a pointy. It used to be very pointy.
Yeah, now it's very dull. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw another one. I'm going to draw a little bit of a lighter stroke just to give it, you guess some.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, what is your question?
Your tops of your M's are rounded there on the
Hello,
lowercase,
pencil.
but on the capitals they were
Hello, pencil.
pointy. Would be the word I would use.
Hello,
Yeah.
pencil. Hello, pencil.
Hello, please don't put that on the iPad. Thank you. That is a good question. That is just sort of the nature of, I mean, I guess.
Is that a thing? Am I just like, I know.
Why is this button doing this to me now? Uh-oh, what's going on here?
Geo.
Sorry. No, it's okay. What's going on? I'm trying to figure this out.
Oh, when it comes back, you just draw.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna just switch this off real fast. I don't know what happened there. But when in doubt, turn it off and turn it back on again. So let's try that. Do you have to go potty?
No,
Okay.
but
All right, let's try this again. So the capital M's, I still like that. Why is that blue there? What did he touch? Okay, well, I guess it's just blue in the background now. The uppercase M's, yeah, they're just, I think it just helps to reduce the confusion between an uppercase and a lowercase when you have the rounded tops and the sort of more angular tops.
Okay.
You can make a capital M with the rounded shapes. It's it's not
Would you
impossible.
make a lowercase m like that or no?
No, you wouldn't really do that. I think it's a little bit more legible to have the softness because you're sort of also echoing other lowercase letters like these letters that go up to the mean line that have a roundness to them.
Okay, just asking.
That's a really good question.
Never occurred to me before.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I have a concrete answer for that, but it's a good question.
Oh, thanks.
So in this N, I'm going to make a little bit more of a rounded shoulder on this one. He did have to go potty. I hear you. And as you can see, this part is like a little bit bigger than this part.
I'm gonna check on it.
Okay. I'm not exactly thrilled with that one, but I think this is a good example of you're working and then you get distracted and then you come back and you try to go back into one letter and finish it, and then you're sort of out of sync. You're out of that muscle memory period. So if you are able to work without interruption, I would highly recommend that because as you can see, if you stop, and then start again, you sort of get out of the realm of that focus. So let's try one more time. I'm going to do one really thin now. And, I guess I'm getting into thicker areas, and that's okay. If I sense myself getting a little bit thick, and I can always thicken up the thin parts. Now, I didn't really intend for this, but it looks a little bit rounded here at the ends of the terminals, and that's kind of a cool look, so I'm just going to sort of full that out. I kind of like the way that looks. Just because it's a monoweight sans serif doesn't mean it has to have hard 90-degree edges. You can have more rounded edges. You can have slanted edges if you want. Those are all things that would help to give your letter form a little bit more style and character, and all things that I would highly encourage. I'm going to jump over now to the sans serif style that has a little bit more contrast. So we're still going to do the sans serif style. We're just going to have some more contrast here. And when I say sans serif, for those of you who have been following, the serif is that little, foot on the end of your letters. So when I say sans serif, this sans means without. So sans serif meaning without the feet. But with contrast, this means that you see how all of these strokes here are trying to be very consistent. Contrast is when you have strokes that are have different weights to them. So for example, this M will have 2 different weights to these strokes. Now I'm going to give you guys my little cheat sheet again. So whenever you're drawing your letter forms, you can remember. Anytime you have a up and down stroke, it is thick. Anytime you have a crossbar, it's thin. Anytime you have a stroke that ascends to the right, it is a thin stroke. And anytime you have a stroke that descends to the right, it is a thick stroke. So this is kind of a key to remembering with the letter M, although the capital M does sort of break out. It has like an exception to this rule, which is a little funny, but I'll show you in a second. So basically, if you want a sans serif M, a sans serif capital M with some contrast, you're actually going to start your main stem here with a little bit of contrast. It's going to be your sort of little, it's going to be it's going to be very thin like this. Yes, Gio, what did you get? Did you get a lollipop? Yeah. Wow, you are a lucky kid.
Yep,
oh,
he's
man.
going to let you finish teaching your class.
Awesome. Can you sit over there with your trains and eat your lollipop, please? Thank you, sweetie. So we're going to start with our main stem, but it's going to be a little bit skinny, and you'll see why. So we're going to come down, we're going to give ourselves some thickness to that. And again, we're going to come up, we are going to abide by this rule, so this ascender to the right is going to be skinny.
Honey,
yes?
We're not going to interrupt. What do you need?
What's up, baby? And then this stem is going to be thick. What's up, honey?
So this lollipop looks like a mirror.
It looks like a mirror?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Is it really shiny? Mm-hmm. Nice. So that is how we draw our uppercase M's. We don't do, if you made both stems really thick, it looks a little funny. So let me show you. So then only your, like up here would be thin. So for some reason, hi baby.
Hi, Frankie.
This just looks a little bit unbalanced to me. So that's why we always keep this stroke thin and this stroke thick. And again, we're sort of flattening out these tops and the bottom there. If you can see.
We have a question. Should the bottom of the letters sit on the top of the baseline or down through the bottom of the baseline?
Oh, this is just a very like general baseline thing here. It doesn't matter where they fall. They should be pretty yeah. Gio says yeah. They should be pretty even, you know, if you wanted to get very technical about it. But the way that I'm drawing them is just I'm just like it's baseline to cap line. Anywhere there is fine. Yes, Gio, what is up? What can I do
What
for
do
you?
you
hon?
need?
I need to be able to focus on my class.
That
Okay?
line
Yeah.
you have to
Yes.
is going down.
It's going down. You're right. This. What letter is this? Do you know what letter this is?
G-O-A.
This is the letter M. This is a capital M. M for Morgan and Millie, right?
I'm tickling your butt.
No, please don't tickle my butt. Please. I'm teaching a class. So we are going to move on to a lowercase sans serif with some contrast. So I'm going to start with my my stem. Hey baby, can you go sit in your orange seat right there, please? Thank you. So
Orange is for my lollipop and orange is for my child.
okay, so the stem of the lowercase does not follow that same rule breaking thing as the uppercase M for some reason. We are going to make our shoulder. Okay. But we're going to maintain some thin parts to that shoulder of that M. But again, we're going to try to maintain that thickness to be similar to that thickness. And then we're going to draw our shoulder again. And in the same idea, really try to make that thin contrast here, similar to, kind of corresponding with this axis here. If you want to think about these sort of arches, right? Trying to really sort of maintain that thickness in this arch, and then you're sort of pulling that curve to sort of end, and you sort of want to taper that curve, if that makes any sense. I talk about these strokes as being similar to like a ribbon, right? Where you have a piece of ribbon here, and when you try to curve your ribbon, it doesn't curve like this. It kind of curves like this. Something like that. I also like to think of these these contrast marks as like a road a little bit, you know? You're trying to steer down this road, and when you're going through these, when you're driving down a road, when you do your turn, you sort of hug the middle part of that, of the line, right? So you kind of hug in that little part of the line. So your trajectory is a little bit different than the actual shape of the road. And this is, of course, a one-way road. You're not going into other lanes of traffic. But think of it like that way, where you're sort of like driving and sort of cutting the curve, and you're making this sort of pinched shape when you're going down the road. Or you can think of it as a ribbon too, where you're pinching the ribbon. Now with these lowercase m's, you can do a really, thick, chunky, bold style. You can do one of those. But always remember that negative space is so, so important to defining the shape of your letter. So you want to really, really want to try, when you have letters like this that are a little more complex, sometimes it helps to just focus on the negative space when you're making those shapes to make sure that things are, in harmony and balanced. So there we have those. I'm just going to kind of tuck that in a little bit there, redraw that. Okay, so that would be an example of I'm going to sort of just clean that up for finishing sake. So that would be our sans serif M with contrast. Notice how you have these shoulders have the contrast here. They have some, let me zoom in a little bit. Can you see here? Let's see. So you have some more contrast here, on these, and then in the mono weight ones, those are no contrast on the shoulder. Okay, we are going to draw some serif capital M's now. And we do that by starting at the cap line, drawing down, and then I'm going to draw a full serif here. Zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better. And notice that I drew that all in one sort of stroke, and the reason in that is I really wanted it, I really wanted that bracket to the serif to be pretty seamless. I wanted it to be, seeming like it belongs to the original stroke. This second stroke that I'm going to make is I'm going to make this serif off to the left, and then I'm going to come out a little bit here, and you'll notice that this width I have left because that is the width that I want my stroke to be. So I'm sort of already hashing out where and how thick I want that stroke to be by doing something like that. So I'm going to start here, right here in the corner, and I'm going to pull that down to the bottom, and then I'm going to pull this down not all the way to the bottom, because again we're gonna come back down here, we're gonna start at this point again, and we're gonna pull up, and we're gonna meet, well, I didn't draw that very well, but what you're trying to do is you're gonna come up and you want to meet that you want to sort of intersect that line that you just drew, and then come down and make your thick. And I like to make that a double serif on the top there. Now there's a lot of different ways to draw serifs on your M's, uppercase and lowercase. This just is something that is of preference. And wow, that ankle is really tight over here. Let me draw another one, and I'm going to try to not I'm going to try to make this one a little bit more even. I think the problem was I didn't come down far enough here. So I want to kind of come back up. And I think that looks a little bit better. I'm drawing a little bit larger than I normally do at this scale on the iPad because I want it to be zoomed in for you guys. But I think that M is a little bit more balanced and a little bit harmonious. And as you can see, that funny little exception to that contrast rule is enacted here. So the stem over here on the left is really skinny, but the stem over here on the right is really thick. I have one serif kind of coming out over here, but I have both serifs coming out over here, both serifs on the bottom, both serifs at the bottom, both serifs, but nothing on here. And I suppose you could do a serif there if you wish, but again, it's up to you. I like to do it without. And for a lowercase m, we are going to start at the mean line. And as if you've been following me, you know that I make my lowercase serifs kind of push out sort of like a little number 1. I'm going to have a full serif here at the bottom. And in terms of the serifs of the lowercase m, I don't often make a serif in the middle. I'll do one on the right hand side here at the end, but if I do a serif at the middle, I'll usually just make it on the left, so that I have like a full serif here, and then a right serif, and then a serif on the right, and then a serif on the right. And I think it's definitely worth practicing this lowercase m to see how you prefer to do your serifs, because you may not even want a serif in the middle at all, or a serif at the end. But let's see what that looks like when you do a serif at the end here. That's not too terribly bad, but again, you're really trying to look at this negative space. and you want to make sure, is there space here that is helping to define the letter form? If I make a double serif here, that does still look like a lowercase m, but if you're doing like a very small weight, you really want to make sure that it's not sort of infringing on this negative space and looking like it's closing it off at all. You don't want it to look like two lowercase n's that are spaced too tightly together. So really, use those serifs tastefully when you are drawing a lowercase m, and try to be really critical about where you're placing them, and again, just put them where you think it will look most legible, because in the end of the day, you really just want the most legible letter form. Okay, so we have covered sans serif, mono weight, and sans serif with contrast. We have covered serif. And now we are going to move into the script style M. So when I draw my script capital M's, so this is like the best part of the whole program right here. I love drawing script M's. I just think they're so much fun. They have so much movement, and they have so much potential to do really, really creative stuff. So if you've been following me before, you know that anytime you have a terminal, a beginning or an end, right, you have an opportunity to do some ornament or decoration, or some more filigree or stuff like that. But the M also has this top part, which a lot of people will add filigree and decoration to that part. Sometimes you can even do it to that one too. I don't often see people using that middle section as opportunities for filigree or ornament, but right here you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different places where you can really make that M very, very, very pretty. So when I'm drawing my uppercase M, I'm going to switch over to my script lines here, which give me some angles to use as a guide. And these are you can download these lines on our website. So one of my favorite ways to draw a letter M is to be very loose and very flowing. I start with a little bit of a filigree, and I kind of come down, right? So I've made that contrast, and then I come down again and I add that contrast again. So I'll do that one more time so you can see. The key here is really being loose and relaxed. I know that starting a letter form with something like that may seem a little daunting, but literally everyone can do a little curlicue, right? So if you want to just sit there for a second, just practice a couple of curlicues, and then maybe practice a curlicue with it going up, and then maybe a curlicue going up and down. That may be helpful for you if you would like to do something like that. In the meantime, I'm going to draw that capital M again so you can see how that looks. So again, I just drew that shape really fast, really smoothly. I came up to the peak, I came down, and then I filled in that contrast pretty quickly. And then let's do it again. And okay, it went a little bit above the cap line here. It's a little bit wonky, maybe, but I actually kind of like the way that looks. I'm going to try not to spend too much time on the thickness of this because I don't want it to seem a little too forced. But I really think of this M as a pretty basic script M. It's sort of like little waves, little shark fins. And with this M, you can, pull out, you can pull out that little peak there and give yourself a ornament. You can also do something like this where you have your M, and maybe you want to add this piece as part of your decorative part of your letter form. I've seen ends like something like that.
Our friend is leaving tortillas on the porch. I'm gonna go say hi.
Oh, who's that?
Lisa.
Oh, the 6 foot distance of porch deliveries has been really a highlight of our days. We live in a part of town where it's like pretty walkable to all our neighbors, and that we've been really lucky where we are able to just still see our friends but stand very, very far away from them. So yeah, look at this beautiful M. Right here we have a nice little tail going off the top. We have this beautiful little squiggle kind of leading into it. And then we have this really loose and sort of organic terminal to the bottom of that. Definitely one of my favorite types of M's to draw as a uppercase script. Now, if you want something a little bit simpler, if you don't want to get into all this fancy stuff just yet, you can start with a very basic stem.
Mom, look at
Yes,
this
Gio?
cool track.
Well, let me see that cool track.
It has a twirl and a second layer.
It has a twirl?
Yeah, and
Cool.
can I have that track?
I bet you could make that with the tracks you already have.
Yeah.
So this capital M is going to be very similar to those lowercase m's that you were already drawing, but it's a capital M. And you sort of pinch off those little terminals there.
Let's say hi to Lisa.
Is she here? Are you going to miss her?
I'm trying to get Gio.
Oh.
Gio, come say hi to Lisa with me. Charlotte's mom. Come on.
Charlotte's mom's here, guys.
Oh, careful, you're attached.
And I'm doing that over because I'm distracted. But that could be another capital M that you do. And if you want to add, something like that. Let me erase that so you can kind of see how that would lead into that. You could do something like that, which is really pretty. And, basic. And if you're in a position where you don't really want that M to be the star of the show, like let's say you start a whole composition with the first letter and it's M and you really want that to be the star, you can definitely do something like this. But if you are looking for a more modest M, that takes up less space, it takes up less attention, but it's still really beautiful and refined. Another M that I like to draw is this sort of curly Q M. Oops, sorry, that's going up to the ace underline.
12 more minutes to go.
Hi, Lisa. So something like this, and then from this point you add the stroke onto these points. So this is pretty curly, lots of loops here. But if you're doing a lettering style that has like a lot of loops and you want it to look something more like that, that is also an alternative. This also functions better in a little bit more of a compact setting. As you can see, this takes up a good amount of chunk of space. This takes up a much less space. But you can also, with this letter, you can add some more filigree there. You can do some stuff off the top there as well. So it's not without opportunity for decoration. You still can do it with this style as well. So now we're going to get to our lowercase m's. And, come back here. And we're going to draw this M as if it appears in the middle of the word. So we're going to start here at the baseline. And we're going to come down and give ourselves that stem. Actually, I feel like it's not a really good angle for me. I was kind of distracted. Okay. That seems better, because I want that to be a little bit more in line with that axis. And I'm going to replicate that shape. Notice this is where I'm starting that line, so we're buried deep in the stem there. And then we go back and we fill that in. And then the terminal, of course, leads into that next letter. So let's try drawing that again. Lead into that stem. We're going to draw that middle section, and we're going to lead into that next letter by adding that stroke to that last terminal shoulder thing there. So let's try drawing this lowercase m in context in the middle of a word. So let's try drawing it in the word amend. We're going to start with our capital A. We're going to give ourselves our contrast there. Spine, M, stem, center M. Because we are going to have an E here, we're going to do that little jog out and come back. We're going to pick that up, draw our N, which is very similar to our M. And we're going to draw our D by drawing that bowl first. And then we're going to give ourselves a nice, oops, you know what? I didn't go up to the ascent line. Amend. So let's fill that in. The lowercase m doesn't really give you a lot of opportunities to do any sort of filigree or decoration, but that's kind of the way it is for a lot of lowercase script letters. Its function is to just be legible and to sit within that in that word and to serve its purpose. But like the lowercase d here, we were able to bring this beautiful tail into the ascender.
Look at these drums in here.
Looking at the drums. Ooh, cool. Little birdie's playing the drums on his iPad. So this is your M in context.
See that?
Let me see. It's beautiful. Thank you. Oh yeah.
See that?
Oh, they're germs, not drums. Cool. Are they getting washed? Are they washing their hands?
How does baby whatever bot know about germs? So timely on the
Baby bus on the iPad.
algorithm.
Yeah, I feel like maybe everyone's watching that. Maybe that's why he's watching it. I don't know. But we have now done.
Can I give you a baby while you answer some questions?
Yes, give me one baby. Ugh. We've now done sans serif, serif, script, capital, lowercase, beautiful decorative M's, and lowercase M's.
Does anybody have any questions today about M's for Arlie before we wrap up for the day? Or for Francis? Questions for Francis?
Really, if you guys have this...
Becky, we're working on an email to you. I'm so sorry. It's coming.
I feel like every day on these class we say, hi,
we owe you an email.
We owe you an email. We're doing our best. We're trying to get...
We're trying so hard, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you for your patience with us.
It's been a circus around here.
It's very, I feel like everybody is in a similar, not everybody, many people are in a similar place.
Yes. But what I was going to say is if you have this line guide at home, really, fill up that whole line with different types. Fill up one line with your sans serif lowercase m. Fill up a whole line with your serif uppercase m. Really try to experiment with different widths and different stroke thicknesses, because the more that you practice and the more that you experiment with your letter forms, the more knowledge you'll have in moving forward and the more confidence you'll have in moving forward.
Kidney Press would like to know, does the fill-in line go on the right side?
Yes, for the capital M, or all the M's. Fill-in line is on the right, and the thin line, can I do this onto my screen? Yes, I can. Hold on a second, I think I need my mouse. Okay. Yes. Thin line, thin stem on the left, thick stem on the right.
Did that answer for you, Kidney Press?
Oh, honey bear.
Oh, Francie.
Okay, well,
here's her binky.
Oh, thank you. We're gonna change some diapers now, but
she has a fresh diaper. I think she's just tired.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll do our part at the end today. If you have a couple bucks and you can spare them, we always love your support through Venmo. You can do that through Arlie Rose, ARLEYROSE. If you don't, please just enjoy the class and fill your time with some nice letters and do something nice for someone else.
Yeah.
Do you draw the line down on the right? Do you draw the line down on the right of the line?
Draw your line down to the right on the line. I don't think I know Are
Okay.
you talking about the script or the...
Like you make the first mark like this, and then do you fill in next to it? Sorry, baby's having a moment.
If you can send me a direct message clarifying that question, I'd be happy to answer it. I don't think I understand completely what you're talking about. So send me a message, and if you guys have any feedback or criticism of our workshop,
Don't,
let me know.
Arlie. Bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Come on, baby.